experienced hikers cut their way out of their own tent, not through the door but with a knife, slashing through the canvas from the inside, and ran barefoot into a blizzard at 40 below. Hours later, they were dead, scattered across a frozen mountainside, 5 of them frozen in the snow, 4 of them in a ravine with their chests caved in and their skulls shattered. Injuries a doctor would compare to a high-speed car crash, and yet, on most of them, the skin wasn't even broken. The Soviet government closed the case with 6 words: death by an unknown, compelling natural force, and for 60 years, that was the whole answer. Let me take you back. It's January 1959 in the city of Sverdlovsk, deep in the Soviet Union. 10 young people from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out on a winter expedition. Students and graduates, all of them experienced skiers, heading north toward a mountain called Toten. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, a radio engineering student, the kind of careful, capable person you trust with your life on a mountain. With him went Zinaida Kolmogorova, Lyudmila Dubinina, the 2 Yuris, Doroshenko and Krivonyschenko, Rustem Slobodin, Alexander Kolebatov, Nikolai Tiboprigonos, and the oldest among them, Semyon Zolotaryov, 38, a war veteran and a tour guide. There was a 10th. His name was Yuri Yudin. On the 28th of January, his joints aching, his health failing him, he turned back. He hugged his friends goodbye and watched them ski away into the white. He would be the only one of them to grow old. He lived until 2013, haunted by that goodbye for the rest of his life. The others pressed on. On the 31st of January, they reached the edge of the highlands and cached some food for the return trip. The next day, the 1st of February, they climbed the eastern slope of a mountain the local Mansi people called Kolatsiakl, which translates roughly to Dead Mountain. They pitched their tent there on the open slope, in the snow. The diaries stop here. The camera film stops here. Whatever happened, happened in the dark of that night. Back home, a telegram was supposed to arrive around the 12th of February. It never came. Days passed. Families began to panic. Around the 20th, the first search bodies went out. Volunteers, then soldiers, then police, with aircraft combing a frozen wilderness. On the 26th of February, they found the tent. It was half collapsed, buried in snow, and empty. The boots were still inside. The coats were still inside. Everything they needed to survive a Siberian night was still inside, and the canvas had been slashed open from within. They hadn't untied the entrance. They had cut their way out, in a hurry, in a panic, and run. The tracks told an impossible story. 9 sets of footprints led down the slope, made by people in socks, in a single shoe, in bare feet. No struggle, no second set of prints chasing them. Just 9 people walking away from warmth and safety, into a blizzard, toward the tree line a mile and a half below. But how do you cut your way out of your own shelter and run barefoot into 40 below cold? And what could possibly be more terrifying than freezing to death? Under a tall cedar at the forest edge, they found the first 2, Doroshenko and Krivonyschenko, in their underwear, beside the ashes of a small fire. Branches on that cedar were snapped off as high as 5 meters, as if someone had clawed their way up in the dark to look back toward the tent. Both had frozen to death, then strung out along the slope between the fire and the camp. 3 more, Dyatlov, then Kolmogorova, then Slobodin. At 300 meters, 480, 630, they were facing uphill. They had died trying to crawl back to the tent they'd fled. That was 5. It took 3 more months to find the rest. Not until the 4th of May, when the spring melt pulled back the snow, did searchers find the last 4 in a ravine under 4 meters of snow, near a crude floor of branches they built to shelter. And these 4 were different. Dubinina and Solotaryov had crushed chests, ribs broken in multiple places. Thibault Brignol had a shattered skull. The doctor who examined them, Boris Vozrostening, said it would take a force like a car crash to do this. But there were no wounds on the outside, no broken skin over the bricks. But how does that even happen? Something had crushed them without ever leaving a mark, and it got worse. Dubinina was missing her tongue. Her eyes, parts of her lips and face. Zolotaryov was missing his eyeballs. They were wearing clothes cut from their already dead friends, Dubinina in Krivonishenko's burned, torn trousers. The survivors had been stripping the dead to stay alive down there in the dark. So the theories came and they multiplied for 60 years. Soviet weapons tests, UFOs, the KGB, a Yeti, an attack by the local Mansi. Every strange detail, the missing eyes, the crushed chests with no wounds, the panic, the radiation traces on a couple of garments, became fuel. The mountain that already meant Dead Mountain became the center of one of the most enduring mysteries on Earth. And then, finally, science caught up. In 2019, Russia reopened the case, and in 2021, two scientists, Johann Gaumann, Switzerland, and Alexander Puzrin, published the physics that made it all make sense. Not an avalanche exactly, a slab avalanche. Here's the cruel elegance of it. The slope looked too gentle to slide, but to pitch their tent flat, the hikers cut a level platform into the snow, and in doing so, they quietly severed the support beneath a buried weak layer. Then the katapatic winds came, cold dense air pouring downhill, stacking fresh snow onto that wound, flake by flake, for 9 hours while they slept. Death was being loaded onto the slope above them all night long. When it finally let go, it wasn't a roaring wall of white. It was a single dense slab, smaller than an SUV, sliding down at a walking pace in the dark. And here's the detail that solves the impossible injuries. The hikers were lying on their stiff skis. You can't break ribs like that with a soft blow, unless the body is pinned against something hard. The skis were the hard backing. To prove it, Goem borrowed the snow simulation code Disney built for the movie Frozen and combined it with 1970s crash test data from cadavers. The numbers matched. Crushed chests, a broken skull, almost no skin damage, exactly what the forensics showed. And the slab was so small, the same wind that triggered it erased its tracks, which is why searchers in 1959 found no avalanche at all. The rest reads cleanly now. Injured, certain a bigger collapse was coming, they cut the tent and fled downhill to the trees. They lit a fire. They split up. Some died crawling back for the gear. Others sheltered in the ravine, where a snow shelf later collapsed onto them. The half-naked bodies, paradoxical undressing, that cruel final reflex of hypothermia, where the freezing feel like they're burning and tear off their clothes. The missing eyes and tongue, months under snow and meltwater, decomposition and scavengers, not a cover-up. But even the scientists won't call it solved. As Puzrin himself said, no one really knows what happened that night. They only offer strong evidence that the avalanche theory is plausible. It doesn't explain why experienced hikers camped on that exposed slope in the first place. It gives us a mechanism, but not a confession. And maybe that's what keeps us coming back. 9 young people went up Dead Mountain with diaries full of jokes and photographs of each other laughing in the snow. They were careful. They were skilled. They did almost everything right, and the mountain killed them anyway. Slowly, in a way no one would understand for 60 years, the science finally gives them a story that makes sense. But it can't give them back, and it can't quite silence the question they left frozen on that slope. If this story kept you up, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which mystery I should take you into next.